Up on the bench today, we have a unique find. I don't know how many there are out there yet, but digital clock. This is vintage, like we like here on this channel. Typically 6 digits, but this one has 4. But this one is unique in its own way. Look at the size of these sockets. What do you think fits in those? Yes. The Burroughs B-7971, dating back to 1964. This could be one of the first tubes made for those Electroscan units. I do believe that they came out in 1964-ish. They were big display units that housed 48 of these tubes. Generally associated with the stock ticker or New York Stock Exchange when you see them listed. I think I came across another publication that may have suggested their use in airport departure and takeoff and return displays. So that may make sense as to how they fit in with this story. This board here, like I said, is vintage. It's got the classic clock chip here, MM5316. This looks to be 1973, but some of the transistors actually have potentially maybe a 1977 date code on them. So maybe this board is from 1977 or newer. If I'm reading the number on a transistor incorrectly, it may be older. So when were those Electroscans taken out of service? My guess is probably mid-70s when LEDs took over. Maybe you know. So a little bit more on this board to maybe close out the story or put more into the story here. Interesting little note here, Mike Quinn Electronics. So I look into Mike Quinn Electronics. Maybe some of you know that name. Interesting little stick figure there. Apparently that is the business mascot. Notice the hat, glasses. I don't know what's in his left hand. If that's a cigarette or a resistor. What's in his right hand holding up higher? I don't know what that is. This is interesting. And then on the board, BM. So, who is Mike Quinn Electronics? Well, I looked it up. I found a little bit of information. Oakland, California. Mike Quinn Electronics, founded in 1947. Started as Mike Quinn Gadgets. In 1963, they moved to Oakland Airport's North Field. Operated out of an old Navy barracks, World War II era. And it was described as to be the location across from the Quonset hut, and that was the landmark used to find the barrack he operated out of. Mike passed in 1983, passed away. I guess some of the staff took over the store. It was continued to be operated. In 1995 they moved to a little bit more conventional storefront, and due to rehabbing on the airport grounds. The store pretty much closed up its doors in 2006. They sold surplus equipment, surplus electronics. That was their main thing. Mike was a very savvy individual and pulled up a lot of resources, and people would flock there to see what showed up in the store the next day. So who is Mike Quinn and this connection with the Silicon Valley microcomputer revolution? So most of us don't know who Mike Quinn is. I didn't know who Mike Quinn is. Well, he not only provided hardware resources, but also introduction between individuals that later became minor legends in their own time with all the dealings with Mike. Names associated with North Star Computers, Digital Microsystems, Godbout Electronics, Morrow Designs, and Thinkertoys, James Electronics, which later became the Jameco we know, IMSAI Manufacturing Company, and numerous others. So that's just a little rundown on Mike Quinn. How does this board come about? Electroscans came out of service, whether in airports or not. That might make sense. You know, surplus dealings right there is an airport, so one of these displays came down. Or one of his other dealings brought in these electroscan units as surplus. We all know these tubes, these Burroughs tubes. They were surplus, left over out of these electroscan units. So he gets his batch in, I assume, and how's he going to sell them? Let's make a clock. That was my thinking. Maybe somebody has the answer to that. Who is BM on the back? The initials BM. You know, maybe somebody he dealt with. Somebody else designed. From what I understand, Mike Quinn wasn't really savvy in the area in which he was dealing with. He was more or less a buyer-seller. He had people working for him. Actually, Bill Godbout of Godbout Electronics worked for him for a little while before moving to the unit behind him in the Oakland Airport, and then developing his own mail order business and stuff, which is kind of interesting. What time frame did Bill Godbout do that? I had that written down somewhere here. At any rate, it's all pretty interesting. So, who designed the PCB? Was it Mike? Was it somebody he dealt with? So, maybe you know, you can help me out. I am looking for a little bit more info on this. Literature, schematics, anything. I appreciate it. The stick figure here is an interesting caricature, I guess you would call it. Pretty much describes Mike just by looking at it. One of the writings I saw online about Mike is that he was kind of a raggedy older individual wearing a Stetson hat, glasses, perpetual burning cigarette, plaid shirt, cowboy boots, with a slumped over posture. And if he liked you, he took care of you in that store. I'll put some links and maybe even copy and paste the article. One of the articles I saw. It was a very interesting read about the IMSAI connection in Mike Quinn, and it's very well written about his character and stuff, and how he was in his dealings in his dilapidated store that he was operating his business out of on the Oakland Airport grounds. But that's all we have. We're not going to fire this up. On this video here, I want to give this a proper going over before plugging the tubes in. I'm told it somewhat works, but there's some obviously setting wires that need to be soldered back in. I'm having some serious spine and neck issues, so spending any time at the bench is not very fun right now. So I will put this aside, but I wanted to bring this out to the masses to get this debuted on my channel and a little more history on vintage digital clock kits. So I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you do have information on Mike Quinn, feel free to leave comments. If you have information or schematics on this particular clock circuit, I'd love to get my hands on it if you're willing to share it. Thank you again. Hope you enjoyed.